going to talk about the difference between a dependent variable and an independent variable. Every true experiment will have at least one of each of these. But to start off, what exactly is a variable? A variable is an event or condition of interest in an experiment that can change or take on different characteristics given different conditions. It can be manipulated or simply observed or measured. So a variable could be the type of medication administered, scores on a math test, an exercise program, or number of hours of sleep, for example. By reducing a phenomenon to a specific variable, we are better able to focus our attention on individual relationships to better understand how one thing has an effect on another. While there are many different types of variables, we are going to focus on two: independent variables and dependent variables. First of all, we can think of most experiments as testing a cause and effect relationship. We usually want to see if one variable, the cause, has an effect on another variable. So for example, we may want to see if Kentucky Fried Chicken really is as finger-licking good as it claims to be. In this case, eating chicken would be our cause, and licking fingers would be the effect. To make this into an experiment, we may assign participants to one of two groups and give one group Kentucky Fried Chicken and the other group just some homemade chicken to see if there's anything special about Kentucky Fried Chicken. Then we could measure how many participants in each group lick their fingers after eating to see if Kentucky Fried Chicken really is all it claims to be. Now back to our variables. The independent variable is the variable that is manipulated in the experiment by the researcher. An independent variable can be a treatment or an intervention or some other stimulus. The independent variable is the cause in the cause and effect relationship. So, in our Kentucky Fried Chicken example, the independent variable is the type of chicken eaten. In other words, the independent variable is what has an effect on the dependent variable. To be a true experiment, an independent variable always needs to have at least two levels. In our example, the two levels of type of chicken are Kentucky Fried Chicken and homemade chicken. Having different levels of the independent variable allows us to compare the effects of each to see if they are different from each other. So, as you guessed it, the dependent variable is the effect in a cause and effect relationship. It is being affected by the independent variable. So in our example, the finger licking response is the dependent variable. A dependent variable is a response measure. It is the variable that is measured in the experiment. One word of caution when identifying independent from dependent variables. A third type of variable easily mistaken for an independent variable is what is called a participant variable. These variables are characteristics about the participants of a study that can affect the results, such as gender, age, race, medical condition, or even self-selected characteristics like occupation, marital status, and residential neighborhood. These participant variables act like independent variables in that they can have multiple levels that differ in their effect on the dependent variable. However, because they are not being manipulated by the researcher, in that they are not under the direct control of the researcher, they are not true independent variables. In our Kentucky Fried Chicken example, we may find that the gender of the participant affects whether or not they lick their fingers. In this case, gender is having an effect on our dependent variable, but since it is not under the control and being manipulated by the experimenter, we call it a participant variable. So let's say that after conducting our experiment, we find that more participants in the Kentucky Fried Chicken group lick their fingers than participants in the homemade chicken group. We therefore conclude that Kentucky Fried Chicken really is finger-licking good. There may have been other variables that could have affected our results, but so long as those other possible variables have been carefully controlled for, such as making sure each group has an equal number of men and women in each, then we can usually assume that the independent variable was the cause of the differences we measured in the dependent variable.